Hey, this is Aaron.
And Blake, we're AB Data.
Thanks for walking through this Alteryx Weekly challenge with us.
In this video, we're taking a look at Alteryx Weekly Challenge number 220. As always, the weekly challenge can be found on the Alteryx community page under Academy and Weekly Challenge. This week, we're taking a look at a farmer with 7 fields, which are all bound by hedges. The farmer has provided us with a series of spatial points defining the corners of each of those 7 fields, and we need to construct the spatial objects that define those fields, as well as analyze the spatial statistics for the farm as a whole, including the total amount of hedge distance measured in kilometers. So taking a look at the map input tool, we have our 17 points defined. And looking at the output, we want to create a polygon for the whole farm, as well as polygons for the individual fields. We then want to analyze or find the spatial info for each of those 7 fields. We'll find the spatial info for the farm as a whole. We'll calculate the total hedge distance for the internal hedges, and then add that to the perimeter of the farm to get the total hedge value. So in our first tool container, we're going to take a look at how we'll map these individual spatial points to the 7 fields. So we've created a small lookup table that associates each of the 17 labels on the map input to a field, and then defines which corner number of the field we're looking at. Ultimately, we'll use this downstream with tool 1.3, the poly build tool. So we will end up grouping based on the field number, and then use the corner value to draw the polygon in the proper sequence. So taking a closer look at the poly build tool, here the source field is our spatial object, which will be the polygon for the individual field, grouping on that field number, and then mapping to that sequence, which draws the points in the proper order, allows us to create the polygons that we'll need for each of the 7 individual fields. Next up, we have the spatial info tool, and here we're creating 2 new fields, finding the area in square kilometers for each of our 7 fields, as well as the length of the perimeter surrounding those fields. So we'll come back to those data points in a little bit, but now let's take a look at the internal hedges. So we have a similar mapping table that allows us to correspond those 17 points to the individual hedge lines for the internal component of our farm. And here, very similarly, we're joining those spatial points in and then using the poly build tool. This time we're doing a polyline instead of building a polygon. We can still use the spatial info tool to find the length of those individual lines, and then just a summarize tool to find the total hedge value for the internal hedges. Next up, we'll take a look at creating the spatial object for the whole farm. So here using the summarize tool, spatial capability, allowing us to combine all 7 of those spatial objects into one polygon. So here is our whole farm polygon, and another spatial info tool allows us to get the total square kilometers as well as the perimeter distance. Then using the append fields tool, we can append on the internal hedge value and quickly calculate the total hedge length. And those data points we want to append on to the full data table with the 7 fields broken out, and we get our final result. So first we defined the individual fields and calculated the square kilometers and the perimeter in kilometers for each.
Thank you for learning with us today. Good luck on your Alteryx journey.
For more information on custom training, managed service automations, and more, please visit our website at abdataconsulting.com.